Hello and welcome to the Student StarCraft AI Tournament weekly broadcast. This is Nightcat, your host for today. Today I decided we would go ahead and take a look at some AI versus human gameplay here. All these replays are taken off of the website for the Snail client, which the Snail client I think is probably the easiest way currently to play games against these custom AIs. It's pretty much just a download in a Java app that runs and manages downloading the AIs, having the proper files in place for each AI to work. You can also do a ranked mode, which is what this is from, where it chooses an AI and conceals which one it is, so that way you don't necessarily know what it's going to do. Looks like our human player here is going for a cannon rush this time. So we've got our AI spawning as the blue Zerg over on the left side of Heartbreak Ridge, and our human player spawning as the purple Protoss, but it looks like the human player here is trying to go ahead and be a bit cheeky, but it does get spotted here. So I think that might have been a drone scout just to make sure that this sort of thing cannot be done. Yeah, it's going to go ahead and try and clear the pylon here. Nice little pylon there being built to try and block, but Zergling's already out now. I think that pylon would block drones, but it's not blocking the Zerglings. The Zergling's trying to take out those buildings before too much more can be built. Natural hatchery being taken as well. I love this response. I don't remember exactly which AIs I pulled games for. I just kind of pulled from like games that were happening the morning of me recording this. So I did try to pull them from like some of the more top level bots, thinking that that might give us some more of the interesting games from the Snail client here. I also am not sure exactly how long this is going to be, because no pre-screening of really the lengths of the game. I just have the file sizes to go off of. So you can see this is a really short one. I also had grabbed one I checked before this, where the player just left after making a few workers. So we might get a short cast, we might get a long cast, we shall see. But let's go ahead and load up game number 2 here. So I liked that response we saw from this AI. It handled that cannon rush that wasn't even a super obvious one because it was up on that cliff very, very well. Looks like, whoops, loaded the same game here. Let's go to this game. All right, we've got our human player spawning as the white Terran over on the left side of Roadrunner, going up against our AI, which has spawned as the teal Protoss up at the top of the map. Roadrunner is a pretty interesting map. It's interesting as Terran player too, because there's like this whole side. You don't really see this as often anymore, but there's this whole side of the main that's sort of exposed. Way more so here, like on this spawn, which is probably one of the reasons why Roadrunner isn't used as much compared to like here. Although I think you could probably do it from here too. With like you could siege tank, and then things that are on the edge are not going to be happy. The siege tanks will be very happy. So here we have our more typical modern anti-zealot with the barracks on the right of the command center. Sometimes you might even toss your supply depot over here to give yourself 2 lanes to work with. But if you're not too worried about early zealot aggression, you might, just do the barracks in the command center. We're getting our workers on gas here. We've got the scout from the AI dancing around here, just continuing to check out what's going on. Not really trying to harass so much, but just trying to get the deets. Will be cleaned up by this Marine here. Factory is started. I'm not sure if the scout actually saw that or not. Okay, we are getting a second Marine, get a third. We were taking off gas there, so we could, if we have 3 Marines, we probably could, get this started, but look at the Dragoon staying back, so should be alright. I was a little bit worried with just 2 Marines. If a Dragoon came up here before the bunker could be thrown down, there might be a bit of a problem, but it looks like it's not too bad. And now we're going out to scout, a rather late scout for the human player here, after getting the natural started doing that scout, but so no bunker. Seems pretty brave, but and like these Dragoons jumping a bit on that tank. Oh, nice miss. High ground miss there helps to save that tank, but now we've got 3 Dragoons here They're able to pick off that SCV, but siege mode is done now, and so should be pretty safe here, even without the bunker. Scout gets in, gets picked off, sees the 4 gates, and sees the natural coming up online. 4 gateways I'd be a little bit worried about, because that's probably going to be a much larger army. Could be indicative of some type of bust, but there was no robo scene or anything, so probably will be okay in the end. It's not going to be something like a bulldog or anything like that. Nice arc being formed. They're not just sitting in the arc, dancing in the arc. And now diving in here with the 4 gateways able to do this. But nice block with the SCVs there. 1 tank able to stay alive and push the rest of these Dragoons back. And now second tank comes out. But there is the constant production of the Dragoons from the 4 gateways. So that might be a challenge with just the 2 factories here. And this wide open. I would have liked to have seen maybe like an engineering bay or something get started here to just sort of try and block this. We have Zealots starting to join some of the army here now. Like speed on the way. Yeah, what's funny too is I literally can't really tell which, or know which, like, have a way to look up which AIs these are, because I just grabbed these games without keeping track of, like, where they were in the list of replays. So, like, even if I wanted to later go back and look, I would not necessarily be able to tell. I'm willing to bet that some of the authors would be able to tell from the behavior. But yeah, like, I have no way of actually confirming one way or the other which AI this is. We've got more gateways coming down. We've working our way up to Arbiter Tech, so we have our Citadel here, the Templar Archives, and the Stargate were being built about the same time in a forge here. So we've got our 3rd base. We're getting our 4th base here. The human trying to get some spread here, and the mine's doing some damage here. Yeah, and the AI is going to choose to go ahead and fall back. Those vultures are able to get in the way and just sort of mess things up. The AI really needs to just sort of sit back at this point, get itself comfortable on that Arbiter Tech, get more bases, and really needs to defend against these vulture hacks. Which, I mean, okay, it is getting cannons now in response. Vultures can take, and a decent enough pack can take out some cannons though. Human player going ahead and pushing up onto this high ground here, trying to throw some mines down. The AI is taking a lot of damage from those mines though. Yeah, with the spawns, this is probably the Dragoon's just running up to this next. Like, you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Oof. Instead of like actually, oh, now it's just 2 Dragoons again coming up here, and it's gonna be the same deal. They're like, I will tank for you. Trying to get a cannon down there, and it's just not gonna work. Now the probe dancing too, just, oh, that's, I wish I could see the kill counts on those vultures, because it's just a slaughter over there. Meanwhile, the human's setting up to take the... Alright, this is about back where we were. Accidentally hit the back button there on my mouse, so we lost the replay for a second. I had to reload and just jump ahead back to about where we are, which was the human player taking this high ground base as a 3rd, and I like this move because it really allows the human player to really cut off. Like, this was the best route to be attacked by from the AI, because it gives the widest point, because on this map there are like the 2 bridges here into this little space, and that could just be defended with tanks for forever, right? The AI would probably prefer to go that way if it had spawned down here, which would just be like a positional, or sorry, over here, and maybe even over here, because that would just be positional, right? Little advantage that this is close, then pretty much a direct route to there. Looks like those vultures did eventually get cleaned up over there on the right, but man, so many Dragoons got lost. And pretty nice stasis there, but mostly got vultures and unsieged tanks. And now the stasis is kind of body blocking, but there is enough here to sort of break this. More reinforcements having to be pulled out by the human player. Forces the AI back a bit though. More mines being thrown down. The stasis turns off, so now there are 3 tanks up here. But yeah, there's just 2 factories worth of production for tanks. The tank count, or the factory count may be a little bit low. I mean, there's just 6. Looks like a 7th one being thrown down now. So the factory count may be a little bit low. Worker count also a little bit low as well at 51. I mean, not too far off from where you want to be, but like about 20 or so, because we want to be around that 70 or so count at this point. So that way you can have the economy to really like handle like 9 or more factories if you need it. But the human player's gonna need another base. Looks like they're going ahead and taking this one down here, which is mostly being ignored by the Protoss player, but there is an observer, it looks like, going to potentially find that base. Once it finds it, though, that there could be an issue depending on how much it devotes to down there. Just taking a look at the upgrades real quick here. We do have 2 plating is about to finish up, so the human player is going to be at +3 weapons. I don't see any, EMP is researched, but I don't think there's 1 vessel on the field somewhere. Ah, there it is, by the rally point it looks like. And the human player looks like trying to decide how they want to move their army here. They are going to move it up here to where the bulk of everything is. But there's some juicy stasis that could happen here. Vessel comes up, gets picked off by the Dragoons, like, immediately. Looks like the human player wants to push out here, and the Protoss will fall back. Actually, falling back pretty far. Looks like maybe the Protoss... Oh, I think the Protoss player found this base here and is actually trying to move to attack this. The human player trying to cut off that army and then force it to engage with theirs. But yeah, this base is, I think, going to fall. But Terran player can now just sort of march into this natural here because of that positional play we have here. Almost pure Zealot spam coming out and just getting destroyed by the vultures here, not even needing to siege the tanks. Now the Protoss player looking to maybe try and come across these bridges here, because that's where the army is positioned. Gets 1 stasis off, but I don't think this army is going to be able to make it across the bridge. Meanwhile, nice splitting of the army here. Not trying to really go up the ramp, but leaving a bunch of tanks siege here to keep the Protoss player trapped up on that high ground while going ahead and clearing the 3rd base. And the majority of the army is just kind of stuck paralyzed here. Not really sure where to go. Wants to maybe go across the bridge, but it can't get larger. Trying to defend, but maybe feeling like it's not large enough to defend, or maybe it's just stuck on offensive when it needs to just sort of full pull back and be defensive here. These Zealots could tear these tanks apart by just getting on top of them, but instead they're stuck dancing, so that's a bit unfortunate to see. But yeah, like if these Zealots just ran in and used the splash damage of the tanks against it, like if a couple of them went down here to this cluster, that'd be tons of damage being splashed around. You could get around these 4 here, you could come down here, like, give me like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Zealots for this situation. I'd be relatively happy if I was getting 7 Zealots at a time here, if they would just dive in, but they're not going to, so it's a bit unfortunate to see, but I guess that is something that's hard to program in, though. It's like, when to be willing to sort of just sacrifice units like that. It's a pretty hard thing to decide. And now the main army's, I think, mostly been cleaned up here. I don't see any arbiters out on the map. Okay, yeah, they've returned home now, but still a bit afraid. There's no detection, too, so, like, if they kept this all cloaked and didn't attack, like, it wouldn't really... Well, there's a scan now, but to see the high ground and there's a vessel there, takes some damage, but at this point there's just this last base here getting cleaned up and this main left. Yeah, it's going to try and stay in at least a little bit longer, but it's looking like this is the end here. It's a nice 3-base play in the end for our human player. Lost some workers, it looks like. So we're down to 38 workers. Not sure exactly where that happened. But yeah, the army just too afraid to engage at this point when there's like nothing left. But good play there by the AI. Good early game pressure, and then yeah, just 3-2 army is pretty strong for Terran Mech. 3-3 is on the way here. So the AI is going to stay until the last building is wiped out. Which, oh, there's a pylon all the way down here. And we get a couple vultures to clean that up. So that was a fun little game. We'll go ahead and get the next one loaded here. Alright, we have our anonymous AI spawning as the green Zerg down at the bottom of destination. And our human hero playing as the yellow Protoss up at the top of the map. So we'll see. I don't know, you can't really like do Forge fast expand, Gateway fast expands on these type of maps. I mean, maybe you can kinda still. But like with the double bridge, I don't know how well that would work, but I guess we'll see. So the AI going for a 9 pull here, or actually an over pull, sorry, because the Overlord there pop. We have Probe Scout coming down, sees the Overlord. Forge finishing up here. I guess you'd have to do Forge first. You can't really Gateway first on this map. So cannon on the way, confirmed to be, I think, a good move, given that the spawning pool is there, but 2 eggs morphing into Zerglings here, and then a drone. A little bit of poking there at that natural hatchery. There was getting their gas and then canceled it. Perhaps deciding to actually go ahead and take this natural. Maybe they were afraid of like a link flood or something and they were going to need to get some other stuff more quickly. Looks like 3 base here for our AI, which I think is pretty standard these days for Zerg and ZVP. To go ahead and take, get your 3 hatches, but get them at 3 bases, and then you just have to defend against like the early Zealot pressure and such. Probe almost managing to get out. Gonna try and lure that Ling back into the cannons, but it will be pulled back and will sit back on its sentry duty. But the Probe manages to squeak out here. And looks like it's maybe going to move to confirm this 3rd base. We'll see here. Nope. Okay, it's just going into the natural. Check out what's happening again. And there's no creep or sunken colony. The Zergling's a little bit out of position there. So the Probe able to get in, get a nice scout going here. But sees that there is the Hydra Den. And there is a Hydralisk. So we're going, it looks like 2 Stargate Sair. Feels really risky only having the 1 cannon here, but oh wait, we're actually getting scouts? We're not getting Corsairs? What? Okay, so it looks like we're just trying to meme here on the Zerg. We are getting a fleet beacon now, so maybe we're doing like a zip play where we're just gonna sit on 2 base and get carriers. Carriers and scouts, and the scout coming up here to the left to go ahead and clear that Overlord out. And we're taking this back door base here that we've opened up. It might be a mineral only, but it will help. We have the Hydralisk army moving forward here. Scouts. We've got 2 scouts on the field so far. Yeah, we're just building scouts too, like, that seems to be the play here, man. Is too funny. Coming in now to harass this natural line here. Gonna have to pull, yeah, back, but like it's not pulling back the full army, which is good to see. There's a chunk that's sitting out there, but it was enough to deal with that. But now leaving too little in there, needs to leave some defenses here. But it looks like we'll be getting a spore colony. And scouts in high enough numbers, they can really start to tear apart ground forces kind of quickly, and buildings too. So the AI has the money to turn that. Okay, there it goes. So there it goes, getting the spore colonies. So I guess the player here was figuring that scouts were a little bit better harassment than the Corsairs, since they can shoot up and down. Oof, getting caught by those Hydralisks there. The backdoor third base gets found before it can really get established, so there's some detachment of the Zerg going over there to cause some problems. We've got more Stargates on the way. Well, actually, I guess it was just this one finished up. So more scout production happening here. And really, I guess, like, you want to keep your scouts alive as much as possible here. Spore doing some work to discourage these scouts from diving in. There isn't one here. Alright, no, there is. And it's covered up by the Overlords. Nice to see. They're making sure that that spore can't be clicked on, but the Overlords get very quickly evaporated. And now the AI is going to be supply blocked for a bit. More Overlords on the way. So nice play there with the scouts. Now some Zerglings, but the player here still just stuck on just the 2 bases. Gonna need to get a third at some point here. Pretty limited by their gas, so a gas third would be ideal. Trying to swing it in here to help fend with these cannons, but there's so much Zerg starting to form outside of these bridges. Like a High Templar with some Storm here would be really cool to see as well, but I have a feeling that the AI would probably just dodge those storms very well. The Zergling maybe not quite scouting enough to see. Okay, they see it now with these additional buildings being thrown down. Will the cannons finish in time? Tons of cannons being thrown down. The whole Zerg army moving up here. Scouts trying to buy some time, but the Zerglings closing in on this. A couple of cannons do finish. But will it be enough in time? The whole Zerg army here trying to get down this ramp. The scouts falling, there's just 6 of them right now, and yeah, all those cannons just getting destroyed. There's the High Templar out on the field now, so just like I was talking about, High Templar would probably help out. We've got one now. But, like, Zerg is pretty much taken over almost the entire map, except for, like, the 2 expansions that would be obvious for it to take, and it looks like the human player will tap out after that. So I like the gumption of this player, though. Trying to use the scouts. Try to meme on the AIs. I like it. It was a good attempt. Would have liked to see that, you know, maybe work a little bit better, but it's scouts. Like, scouts are not that easy to work with, so we'll get our next game up and running here. We've got our human player spotting as the brown Terran up at the top right of the map, and we've got our AI spawning as the orange Protoss down at the bottom right. And where did that... We had an early SCV go out. Where are you going, sir? Sir? Why are you scouting this? We've got a supply depot here. That depot isn't necessarily early. Or is it? It might be early. It was a 7 depot. I mean, I get you're maybe trying to wall off here, but that's not really gonna be a wall if you throw your barracks there. Is this going to be a lever? Yeah, that's not a wall. I mean, you could put a SCV in the middle and maybe then it's a wall, but it is an interesting choice. And getting the gas too. Okay. Okay. So now this is finished. Also, the Marines are going to pop out on the wrong side, which is going to be annoying, but... Hey, we're getting the scout. Oh, we were building a very forward barracks. I guess that bought some time, right? Because it, like, distracted the Zealot. But Or maybe this was intending to be a rush, like get a forward racks along with the racks that's down there. But yeah, now here comes the Zealot. Nice targeting of the worker there by the AI. This might be over pretty quick here. We've got a Zealot in the base. There's no SimCity in the base to really use to deal with these Zealots. We've got the gas, but it looks like this SFV was maybe going to be building that factory, but didn't have the minerals for it, as we now have to spend some money on these Marines. Looks like maybe trying to do a counter. There is now another forward racks. Yeah, I think this was an attempt to be like some kind of rush play with the double racks, but we're just trying to run forward and see what we can do. But yeah, there's like no workers left on the players. Well, there's like 1 or 2 left on the player side. Yeah, lifted the command center even. So good attempt there, I think. It looks like maybe it was an attempt at some sort of, excuse me, sorry about that. So all of a sudden I was hit with the urge to stretch and yawn. But yeah, I think this was an attempt at some sort of like cheesy rush that could lead into a bit more standard play, but it didn't quite work. I mean, throwing the barracks right where it's going to be seen, probably not the best idea, but a good attempt nonetheless. Get our next game up here running. It is also on Fighting Spirit. We have the AI spawning as the red Terran up at the top right of the map. And we have our human hero playing as the purple Zerg up at the top left. Gonna grab a quick drink there. We'll see what these people decide to do. These people. Oh no, I'm calling the AIs people now. That's pretty far back barracks, but okay. I guess that would be pretty protected potentially against like Vorpal and stuff, but. So I think this was an overpool based on the pool timing and the Overlord here. We've got our natural hatchery coming up. All good stuff in our extractor. You'll see what the first 100 gas gets spent on. Could still be like a Ling Flood type of play, but looks like we're getting mech play from our Terran player here. Could still be a 1-racks fast expand. We are seeing a bunker go down. There hasn't been a drone scout, so okay, Zerg pulls the Overlord back, sees that, okay, that is indeed where the Terran player is. I'm a little bit worried if our Zerg hero here does not see. Okay, so we are getting Zergling speed first. Okay, we are getting the creep colony, so that is good. That needs to become a sunken yesterday, though, so a little bit off on the timing, unfortunately. But thankfully for our hero player here, the Vulture was attacking the morphing sunken colony instead of just running past and trying to get into the base and wreak havoc. So, while the timing was maybe a little bit off, thankfully it did get there. A run-by could still be in the works, but it looks like we actually may have a 1-1-1 sort of situation here, as we did get a starport as well. And there is a Wraith here harassing this Overlord. Looks like the Hydralisk Den is on the way now, but the Zerg player is going to be rather supply blocked here, without any real way of defending the Overlords that it needs in order to make the things that it needs to defend the Overlords. Wraith prioritizing these Zerglings here. That Marine being pushed back into the sunken there. I'd like to have seen that Wraith, instead of going after those Lings, maybe continue to go after the Overlords, but I mean, you know, in the end, it's still, some units died, so, you know, you still got value out of it, right? And perhaps you killed me a little bit more, because Overlords, man, they may take a few shots, so you're probably not going to supply block again. Hydralisks are already going to be morphing, so, I mean, you know. I would have liked to have seen it target the Overlords, but that may not have been the best move anyway. So now we're going ahead and pulling back as there is a more significant Zerg army happening here. A few more defenses being thrown up at the front. We're up to 4 hatcheries here on 2 base, but we're also up against 2 base Terran that went 1-1. So it's actually hard to tell what the what the Terran player is going to be going here, because it looks like they're going to incorporate more bio, but they still have the vultures out here. But is there enough to actually defend here? There might not be once the full forces come up here. We have the Hydralisks diving in. They get in the way of the Zerglings though, but now the bunker is going to fall. This is like an excellent timing by the Zerg player here. There's just not a lot. Terran player being greedy, trying to take this third. And our Zerg human hero here getting lots of worker kills. Siege mode is out though, which might save the AI here. But Zerglings are able to get up and on top of the tank and just, yeah, a tank just a little bit late, I think. And then the army was just a little bit small. Nice 4 hatchery flood here. By the human player, so... Good game here. You know, they handled that Wraith very calmly and very well. Packed up into like a Hydra bust here, which, yeah, that's I think the thing with like 1-1-1 builds is they're very technical and tricky to use properly. And they can leave you open to stuff like this if you're a bit too greedy and just don't have an army to defend when if Zerg decides to do this sort of bust play. So now Zerg just has to find the last base here. We'll find it. And we'll go ahead and clean this up. I think probably the AI will either tap out or will just, you know, lose. It depends. Yeah, okay, it's gonna have to go all the way to losing its last building there. And the human hero wins the day for us. So our next game here, we have our human hero Sugarman spawning as the blue Protoss up at the top right here. And we've got our villainous AI down at the bottom right as the yellow Zerg. And this will be on Andromeda. So what is our highest human hero going to do? It looks like we're going for a fast expand, which I think you can get a better wall on this map. The destination is nice because it does have the 2 bridges, which is like sort of like 2 choked entrances into your natural. This has like a little bit more of a traditional space, like smaller space that you can probably wall a bit more effectively. But I don't know where you would plot your gateway in this. Looks like it's just a forge first fast expand, so might not even put a gateway to it. Going ahead and getting the first cannon there. This will get spotted by the drone scout, which will now happily return home. It looks like our player is getting the last scout, so just 1 cannon maybe feels a bit greedy when you haven't got the scout on the Zerg, because they could be going 9-pull and rushing in, but there is also a little bit of knowing your opponents, right? And maybe they just haven't hit any AIs that do that sort of move, and so therefore they're feeling, okay, pretty confident that this is safe. And they are getting a gateway down here as part of this wall. It sticks out a little bit more than the rest of the buildings, so it might get picked off later, but sometimes you sort of expect and or plan for that building to get picked off eventually by the Zerg. Flare is on the way. Zergling's coming up here to check things out. Not going to be able to run by, though. There's also a second cannon about to morph. I mean, you'd maybe get 1 in. Maybe you could cause some havoc with it, but its speed is not... No upgrades or research from either player right now. Looks like we're teching into Mutalisks from the AI, which will be very cool to see. I don't think we've really seen Muta play this cast just yet from the AIs. We're also taking a third base now at the other main. Not a bad spot to take it. Especially, it's the cross spawn main, so very, very far away from the Protoss player here. Looks like the Mutalisks are going to come out here. They went ahead and got 3 gateways, and they're just getting their Stargate now. It's just finishing it, and these Mutalisks are going to get in here before the first Corsair can pop, so there's no cannons in them. Actually, there's no anti-air in the main right now. So these workers are just going to get destroyed here. Looks like there is a robotics base, so it looks like the human player was going to go for maybe some Reaver drops, but like, yeah, these Mutalisks are just destroying this mineral line. Jeez. The one Corsair falls, no workers left for Sugarman. Sugarman, or actually no, there is a worker, that's right, they left, so the game's ended just as I was looking at the number. But man, those Mutalisks, they did not let Sugarman get any sugar there, that game. They were just like, nope, that sugar is all for the AIs. So I think the problem there was just maybe an overinvestment in the gateways early on and not getting the Corsairs, not respecting that this could be Mutalisk play out of the AI. And very, very crisp Mutalisk play from the AI. That was pretty nice to see. Get our next game up and running here. It's going to be on a bit more of a modern map that's still used in tournaments today. We've got Neo Sylphid. We've got our human hero spawning as the brown Protoss up at the top of the map, and over on the bottom left here we have our anonymous AI. So we've got a Protoss versus Protoss here. Looks like our anonymous AI is going out and scouting on the pylon. Our human player not building anything. Are we going? What are we? What? Oh. Okay. Interesting. We're getting 2 gateways here. Oh. There's a spot for a cannon back here. We're gonna need a forge, though. Oh no, it's prioritizing the gas. That got stolen. Okay, I see. It's getting its own forge now, but like, it needed to take out the pylon. Now it's attacking the pylon, but it needed to actually kill that pylon first. So that is a bit unfortunate. So I wasn't quite able to take out that pylon because the cannon was able to actually fire on the Zealot. It will get it eventually, but it's taking some really heavy damage here. Now we've got our human hero going ahead and taking their own gas, getting their own couple of gateways. I don't think this AI is really going to be able to survive this very well. Bit unfortunate of the prioritization there by the AI going after the. If the gas had not been stolen, I think it lives. It survives this pretty okay. And I mean, it's alive, but it doesn't have money for workers. It doesn't have any workers, so gotta just up the speed a little here. and then the AI is going to go ahead and give the GG there. So, like I said, that one just came down to prioritization, which is part of the hard part of AIs for this type of application is decision making. And really, it had a decision to make on what to attack. So there were 2 pylons, and there was a cannon starting to morph. It gets its first 2 zealots. It's like, okay, well, what do I do with these? It chose to clear the gas when really it should have chosen to go after the pylon here and try to get in, or even the pylon actually maybe down low, because I don't know if the probe was up here and could have potentially tried to replace that pylon really quick if it got destroyed before anything could move in the way. I don't know if that probe could actually get down to the bottom, so maybe the bottom would have been the better approach. But yeah, so just an example of how tough that can be. That decision making. So our last game for today here, we've got, looks like a Terran versus Protoss here. We have our human hero, the Master, playing as the orange Terran up at the top left of Overwatch. And down in the bottom right, we have our anonymous AI spawning as the purple Protoss, looking to redeem itself. I mean, I don't know if it's the same AI that got Cannon Rush there, but it's attempting to redeem the Protoss AI here in general. So Overwatch, I think, it's still an older map, but it's more modern than some of the other maps in the pools that the AIs typically engage in. So you can do, I think, more modern things on it. I don't think I played on a map that I think is like similar-ish to Overwatch before. It's a blue map, but I can't remember the name of it. Because like I'm thinking like the feature of a bridge here and then like a path down here is somewhat familiar to me, but like the layout is definitely different. I know it's not this map that I played on. I just can't think of the name of it because there was like a path up to the side. It was a really cool map. I think it might have been in CPL 7. It was Twilight 2. But anyway, to the game at hand here. Looks like we have a forward racks here. We're getting our bunker. We are getting at least our first factory here. We're lifting the barracks, gonna move it into a bit better position. Scout kit's picked off, but we know where the opponent is. It's a 2-player map, so even if that SCV did not get into the main, we know what's up. Sneaking this SCV around outside of the path that that Dragoon is probably going to take, and getting our natural CC. I think there's just one Marine. Yeah, there's just 1 Marine in there, which can be a little bit dangerous. If you only have 1 Marine in the bunker, sometimes human players that are playing Protoss will decide to just run past your bunker since it's not going to take a whole bunch of damage. But you know, you do that when you have like maybe 4 to 6 goons or something like that. Because 1 Marine, even though he's protected from the bunker, you're in the bunker, like... Ooh, we need to get a repair going though, or else that's gonna fall. Now we have a second... Ooh, gets the repair with 2 SCVs just in time. You actually don't need 3. 2 will keep it alive, but... Here comes a 3rd Dragoon, so having 3 is probably not a bad idea. Gonna go ahead and poke the Dragoons with a tank and just sort of push them back a little bit here. Looks like we're trying to get a bit of poking in there, but really, I think at this point, the AI should just stay back and not even bother with trying to win the game here. Like, at this point, I mean, because, you know, like, yeah, maybe you can try and break, but, like, you're just gonna bleed units. If you don't break it, you're just bleeding Dragoons. You're bleeding health on your Dragoons, like... Vultures are escaping out the alternate route here. They're going to wreak some havoc because all of the Dragoons are so forwardly positioned. There's nothing hanging back to defend against this. Trying to pull and hide the probes a bit here. Okay, that mine. I thought I was going to get some probe kills there. Oh, there's just the one vulture. You can get it, AI. Come on. Hero vulture here, just completely just shutting down this natural, hiding in that corner. High Templar and Dark Templar on the way. Probe's doing funky dances. It keeps trying to dive in on this bunker for whatever reason, and that's just going to keep causing it to bleed units, unfortunately. Looks like something ate a few of those mines. There's still a mine there, which could be dangerous, but I don't know why that Dragoon was dancing like it is exactly, but there's another vulture down here at the bottom now. It's cleaned up by the Dark Templar and the probes are able to return, but yeah, there's just more and more vultures getting out on the map, just wreaking havoc everywhere. Meanwhile, our Terran human hero here is just powering up, going up to, looks like 6 factories. Nope. Sorry, 5? No, yeah, 6 factories. And we've got our starport going on here. Pretty forward pylon there, just watching that mineral only. Actually, there's one over here at the central third and one over here too. So yeah, again, diving in, just losing more and more Dragoons. Like, it's just not going to have the army size that it needs to have. And it keeps losing workers at these bases. It's still just on 3 base. Another attempt to bring in some vultures here, picking off a lot of workers. Mines taking out the DTs. Yeah, the vulture harass working very well for the human player here. There is a Dark Templar staying just outside the range of that turret, watching that bridge. Human player is going to be moving out here. Looks like they're planning on taking this top base here as their third. ADT diving in with the Zealots. They're able to get on top of some of the tanks, but, like, yeah, it's very quickly being cleaned up. This bridge is like this AI's worst enemy, man. Ah, we're making some progress, actually, here. Wait, what? Human separated off 5 tanks from the main army, and then all of a sudden, the Protoss player is in the main, or in the natural, rather. Like, wait, what? How did this happen? I think the human player is going to be fine with the reinforcements. They're going to push this back, but, like, they've dropped down to 40 workers now, and Arbiter Tech is coming up. I'm not sure what happened there, but, probe with minerals gonna confirm. Oh, okay, there's a base up here. And there's just these 2 tanks here, so that third is probably gonna be forced to lift because there's just not forces there to really defend it. Trying to push things back. There's good storm there on those vultures. Trying to get that High Templar, but he manages to survive. And now they're diving back into the natural. Again, that's the thing, the tank count got reset. And I don't think this human player is really going to get enough time to rebuild that tank count, unfortunately. Protoss player going up to 4th base here, getting that established. And for all of the vulture harass that was happening in those probe kills, the worker count is way in favor after this natural got raided. Good storm there by the AI. Good reaction by the human player, too, to pull those SCPs over to that left side and save as many of them as they can. But they're down to 37 workers, just like no minerals. Good storm there, clears out the mines too, actually. Now the Arbiter comes up into here. And yeah, I don't think the human player is going to be able to really push this back. They're barely producing anything. They just don't really have minerals at this point. Now the unit's getting into the main. I thought this was going to be a game that the humans were going to persevere, but in the end, the AI, Protoss AI, wins it out. I don't even... Let me go back real quick here. I want to take a look at that push. So we've got our defenses here, right? Established and everything. This is still here. We're going ahead. So the supplies right now are in favor of the AI. So I think Part of the problem is we've been throwing. So while we were doing all that vulture harass and getting those worker kills and everything, it kept bumping our supply down, right? We're only at 111 supply, and we're trying to take a third base. Protoss is supposed to be ahead in supply in like your standard game, so that's really not a surprise. But look, a lot of these tanks are back really far right. So like we're trying to abuse the choke of the bridge, and we're trying to abuse the choke here that we and sort of the artificial choke that we built with the buildings, right? But like once they get across the bridge, the only thing that's really stopping from crossing the bridge is these two. Once these get cleared and like the Protoss army sets up here, it's got some nice space to work with. And so I think one of the problems is how far back a lot of these defenses are. The other problem is we only had 111 supply and we're splitting our forces, right? Like it's just something that we can't really afford to do right now is split our forces up like that. Like we need a larger supply count in order to defend the supply count of the Protoss army, because what happens here is the Protoss army just brings its full supply up here, charges in, and like, yeah, there's a lot of Zealots. They get on top of the tanks. The front tanks fall to some splash from the tanks in the back as well, and then these tanks just run up forward and just, yeah, there's just too much supply here to handle. So I think that's what ends up happening in the end. But very exciting games, human versus AI here. Like I said, I wanted to take today to kind of show that off, as I don't think there were a lot, or there might not have been any recommended games out right now. But it's nice to see the AIs playing against human players and kind of just what's going on, right? Like I said, I tried to pick a smattering from bots that are higher up on the ladder to just see, you know, like what's kind of going on there. And it looks a little different from the human world meta right now, human versus human. But very, very cool to watch. Thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been the weekly SSCAIT report. This is Nightcat. Appreciate y'all tuning in and showing some support and love. We'll catch you next time. Until then, take care, everybody.